This is Jordan, and he's my audience member for this speech. Aldous Huxley once said, "After silence, that which comes nearest to expressing the inexpressible is music." Has a song ever meant so much to you or sounded so cool that it made you wish you could play it or sing it yourself? Today I'll be demonstrating how to read music, so hopefully you can take some of these great songs and play them on your own. I'll first be explaining the basics of clefs and the staff in general. Then I'll explain the values of notes and rests, and then I'll bring time signatures into it as well. Before we get into the detailed things, it's always good to know a little bit about your clefs. We have a treble clef and a bass clef, and these clefs tell you what range your instrument or voice will be in. Treble clefs are for higher ranges, and bass clefs are for lower ranges. The notes of both of these clefs go in alphabetical order, but each one starts at a different note. So the lines for the treble clef are E, G, B, D, F, and a good way to remember that is the sentence, "Every good boy does fine." And then the spaces in between those lines spell face, so F-A-C-E. The lines for the bass clef are G, B, D, F, A, and a good way to remember that is the sentence, "Good boys do fine always." And then the spaces for that, the sentence is, "All cows eat grass." So if you look at these notes and read them in order, the lines and the spaces, they are all alphabetical order. Knowing the basics are important, but you can't do much until you know the values of notes and rests. So this is a quarter note, and it's worth 1 beat. This is a half note, and it's worth 2 beats. And this is a whole note, and it's worth 4 beats. And sometimes you'll see a dot next to each of these notes, and this adds half of that note's value to the original value. So if you saw a dot next to a quarter note, that would make it 1.5 beats. If you saw a dot next to a half note, that would make it 3 beats. And if you saw a dot next to a whole note, that would make it 6 beats. There are also notes with a value of less than 1. This is an 8th note, and it's worth 1/2 of a beat. And this is a 16th note, and it's worth 1/4 of a beat. Just like notes, there are rests that are also worth different values. This is a quarter rest, which is worth 1 beat, just like the quarter note. This is a half rest that's worth 2 beats, just like the half note. And then this is a whole rest that's worth 4 beats, just like the whole note. And then just like notes, there are also an 8th rest and a 16th rest, here and here. And the 8th rest is worth 1/2 of a beat, and the 16th rest is worth 1/4 of a beat. Putting these notes and rests of different values into a piece of music only works with a time signature. So a time signature is 2 numbers stacked on top of each other. The bottom note, or the bottom number, tells the type of note that's equivalent to 1 beat in that measure. And then the top number tells you how many of those notes are in 1 measure. So the most common time signature is 4/4, which means 4 quarter notes in 1 measure. And then if you wanted to make a time signature 3/4, you would just take away one of these quarter notes, and that would be your whole measure, because it's 3 quarter notes in 1 measure. When you're first learning music, 4 is usually always the bottom number in a time signature, but once you get into a little more difficult pieces, the bottom number can change. So here, the time signature would be 6/8, and it would mean that there are 6 eighth notes per measure. So these are the eighth notes that we learned up here, and there would be 6 of these eighth notes in 1 measure. The bottom number can also be 2, which would mean half notes in a measure. So 3/2 would mean 3 half notes in 1 measure. I have now shown you how to read music, so hopefully a page of notes doesn't seem as confusing to you. I went over the basics of the staff and clef, which led to the values of the notes and rests, and finally I ended with the explanation of time signatures. Music can be an escape from the worries and stresses of everyday life, so being able to read music will help you create this escape all on your own.